So, unfortunately, in some cases, people and educators have been making SEL, social emotional learning, political, and it's unfortunate. And yes, there have been some agendas that have been put forth inside of our schools, and I think it's time we really need to start talking about that. Now, this is something that has been on my mind for months, actually many, many months. And I'm finally getting up the courage to start to tackle it for real. So that's what we're going to start doing today. What do the arts have to do with learning in SEL? Oh, so much. Join me as we explore the depths of how these things come together through SEL, social, emotional, artistic learning. We'll look at the mindset, the methods, and the integrations that make SEL so effective. So plug yourself in. It's time to get inspired. Hello, everybody. Elizabeth Peterson here from the Inspired Classrooms podcast. Just a bit of a warning, you may hear my husband's lawnmower going in the background, but I really wanted to jump in and record this while I had the opportunity because I think it's a really important thing that we need to start talking about if we're going to talk about social and emotional learning. And it really goes back to my very first episode on this podcast, which was titled No Stress. And my concept of starting this podcast was to just be able to do it. Just be able to start talking about all these important concepts with social emotional learning and specifically with integrating the arts and creativity with the concepts and skills that go with SEL. So here's the thing. Too many schools and districts and educators are starting to take this idea of social emotional learning a little too far and taking the concepts and the values that should be thought of as important in our classrooms and they're twisting them. Now, here's the thing. Are our classrooms diverse? Yes. And I really feel like that is the beauty of our country and of our world. We have such a diverse population of people in our schools and students in our classrooms, and that is just one of the amazing things about our country. Do we have inclusive classrooms? The answer to that also is yes. But this is more about making sure that students and adults alike are kind to one another inside the school setting and are making sure that all students are getting access to education that they deserve no matter what. No matter what. Now, I'm not going to get sucked into talking about some of the buzzwords that are in education right now that are twisting what social emotional learning truly is. And I do understand that SEL kind of is a buzzword, but that is where most of my topics are going to be landing. In the idea that our students need to develop their social skills and their emotional skills and how that pertains to the classroom and their learning. So I want to focus on what social and emotional skill building is and what it should be inside of the classroom setting. I want to get to the core of SEL, and then I want to challenge you to rein in your perspective of this concept of social emotional learning. Because at its core, social and emotional learning is about habits. Habits that you have as a learner and also the habits that you have as a teacher. Things like, are you polite? Caring? Can you see things from another person's perspective? Do you have the confidence to speak your opinion? And do you have the decency to listen to others' opinions as well? Can you learn from your mistakes and grow from them? Can you take a risk and be okay with making a mistake? Do you see how these are the things that pertain to learning inside of the classroom? Here are some more. Can you set goals? Can you work with others? Can you problem solve? Can you listen? can you just listen and reflect and keep an open mind so that you can continue to learn and continue to teach? Can you find the motivation to get yourself to class? That right there is a very difficult skill that our students are struggling with, finding the motivation to get themselves to class and on time. And once they are there, once they're in our classrooms, once your students are in your classroom, can they focus on the work in front of them and seek out the resources that they need to help them? Do you understand the strengths that you have? Do students understand that they have strengths, right? And can they bring them to the table when they're asked to work inside of the classroom community? This is what social emotional learning is about. There is so much to this, and inside the classroom, it really boils down to two major things. And these things are truly the only two things that as a teacher you need to really focus on when it comes to social and emotional learning. The first is transitioning your students into the classroom. And the second is helping your students to focus on their work while they're with you. That's it. It's really that simple. And from those two simple things, you're able to help your students build all kinds of skills for their learning and for their life. Now, just because it's that simple doesn't mean it's not going to take a lot of work. It's going to take some reflection, and it's going to take some diligence on your part as the educator, as the teacher who's standing right in front of your students day in and day out. In fact, there is so much that you can do to help your students to do these two things, to transition into your classroom, to focus on their work. I'm sure I've mentioned many times in the past, and I know I will continue to as we go through the next months, years of episodes, that, one of those things that we can do with diligence is build relationships. Because when we build relationships in creative ways, our students will want to transition into our classrooms. They'll want to do the work that we give them. And that's just one simple example of how this comes into play. Because this is what SEL is all about. And that's what this podcast really is all about. How can we integrate the arts and creativity into our classrooms so that our students are learning effectively and we are teaching effectively in a way that really stays true to our profession as educators? So I just have that one, I think it's a simple, a simple idea that I want to just get across inside this episode today, and that is that we need to keep social and emotional learning skills in the classrooms simple. Transitioning our kids into the classroom and helping them to learn while they're there. So, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And if you want to chat with me about this topic or any topic that has to do with, SEL, arts integration, and how important it is for our students to be developing these skills inside of your classroom, please reach out. DM me on Instagram, find me on Facebook. All my links are in the show notes. And I really love hearing from you as a listener, and love having conversations, more and more conversations with people who are listening in and talking about this very important topic. All right, so I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I want to encourage you to, through finding resources and finding professional development that's really going to help you, I want you to keep inspiring yourself to be the best teacher that you can be. All right, have a good one, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe as we continue talking about arts, learning, and SEL through SEL, social, emotional, artistic learning. If you want to learn more, go to theinspiredclassroom.com. My name's Elizabeth Peterson, reminding you to get inspired so that you can be inspiring to your students.